All right, got a fun one for you guys today. We're going to touch on something that I teased on Twitter yesterday. A Cowboys trade hypothetical. It's hypothetical, but it's actually I'm going to walk you through the thought process and then how exactly the pieces fit, because the picks and the player, or at least the position, it's a seamless and almost near perfect match, maybe with one exception, and we'll talk about the caveat. But then also, what I think most people missed yesterday when listening to Stephen Jones's interview on 105.3 The Fan about the 12-minute mark or so, he said something that I thought was pretty interesting as far as not done yet, something still in the pipeline, free agency. And there goes my camera, just like it always does. With that, let's just go ahead and run this intro, and we're going to get started. Let me refresh this browser. There we go. Should be okay now. All right. Good deal. If you're new here, just in case, we got some people starting to trickle in more and more as we're pushing to 5,000. We're on the I guess on the home stretch to for me, my first real milestone. So help us get there. Hitting that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and then telling somebody where they can find the Lando Show. I'm Lando from the Lando Show.
All right.
And this is Sports Below the Surface. Let's start with this clip here from Stephen Jones so that you guys can hear exactly what I'm talking about in case you missed it. And that should sort of take you, peel the curtain back a little bit and make this all make sense. Okay? This right here. Flitz and I broke down Dane Brugler's 7-round mock draft a little bit earlier. So if you haven't checked that out yet, please do so as soon as we are done here. This will be a pretty quick one. So here we go. Stephen, yes, Attack on Cowboys brought it to my attention how dirty my computer screen is. So listen, I'm going to work on that, okay? Because I do subscribe to the how you do anything is how you do everything mentality. But believe me when I tell you that with 2 small children and 1 on the way and 2 small businesses as well, computer hygiene is very, very low on my priority list. But thanks to AOC for pointing that out and bringing it to my attention just how bad it really was. So I will work on that. But if this bothers you, if the screen bugs you guys, just close your eyes and listen. Here we go.
I don't think it's necessarily, going through the roof in terms of the value of picks. I think, picks are valuable. I do think, if anything, I would say, you can get some value in veteran-type players that teams have decided they need to move on for cap reasons. There's some value out there. Of course, we've made, some trades here in the offseason that we felt really brought, some players that can really be of value to us next year. I feel like we've, done a really good job of really solidifying our team in terms of depth, in terms of being able to draft pure in the draft. I think we got a lot done this off season, and like I said, it's not over yet. We'll continue to look at opportunities to help this football team. I don't think it's necessarily.
Key words, guys. It's not over yet, after directly mentioning adding to the team so that they can draft pure. Okay? And then he says, what at the end? One more time. Right here.
Season, and like I said, it's not over yet. We'll continue to look at opportunities to help this football team.
We'll continue to look at opportunities to help this football team. So, once again, a proactive approach, looking to trade more and more continuously. Okay, it's not the first time that he's brought this up. He even teased it back before the Joe Milton trade went down, as did I. When I told you guys, get ready, he's announcing to you that they're working on things here actively behind the scenes, right? Not done yet. So what could they be looking at? So that they can draft pure, right? He sort of prefaced that with the statement, so that we can draft pure, because that's the whole deal, right? You want to add in free agency so that you don't have to enter the draft desperate at any one particular position. Very important, very, very important. I've written about why that gets you in trouble and what happens whenever those sorts of things occur, right? When you put yourselves in those situations, you end up with a Tristan Hill or a Mozzie Smith, trying to make him somebody that he wasn't necessarily, sort of to validate taking a run stuffing interior defensive tackle in round one, or even Tyler Guyton. Granted, they traded back and were still able to add a third round pick to select Cooper Beebe. But it feels, a lot of people felt like at the time, and still do, I still think that there's an immense ceiling, and I love what Tyler Guyton can become. But a lot of people think that the Cowboys reached for the 7th best tackle in the class. They could have waited a little bit longer to maybe select him if they wanted to, but they took an upside swing on a guy with, I mean, if we're being honest, sweet feet for his size, a basketball player up until his senior year of high school full time, and a dude that's truly a dancing bear, just is so raw at the position that it was always unfair to expect him to be more than what he was, which was just a raw, untapped ceiling, just a high traits guy, right? And not to mention, as I have mentioned many times in the past, also that, he was sort of just dealt an unfair hand with the situation that his coaching staff was under, with, being in a 1-year contract or expiring contract, fighting for their coaching lives. Okay. So, not done yet. Does he mean free agency? Does he mean the trade market? Cowboys still have plenty of picks. They got a round 1, round 2, round 3. They've got 2 round 5s, 2 round 6s, and 3 round 7s. So what is that? 1, 2, 3. 2 5s is 5. 2 6s is 7. And then they still have 10 draft picks. I want to make sure that that's correct. Something's telling me that it's not 10 anymore. I don't know why I was thinking it was 9 still. Let's look up Cowboys draft picks. I know Blogging the Boys did this, and I've used their site as a reference point in the past as well. Cowboys draft picks post Joe Milton. Blogging the Boys. Okay, I was right. Yeah, so it is 10. Got 12 overall, 44, 76, 149, 174, 204, 211, 217, 239, and 247. I'll share this tab with you guys. There you go. Just to give you a little peek at what I'm talking about. So this sort of plays into, right, I wrote about Jimmy Johnson's the draft trade value chart, and started coming up with just different hypothetical scenarios that might make sense for the Cowboys as far as draft day trades, and continued the exercise. I began. So if you're not a fan of George Pickens, let me just preference this with you guys real quick. If you don't love the idea of George Pickens, then just replace George Pickens and the Steelers with Cortland Sutton and the Broncos. Literally just one pick prior. But just for the sake of the argument, for the sake of breaking up the draft monotony, the draft day fatigue, if you will, just because we are literally in the dog days of the draft season right now, right? It's just kind of getting redundant at this point. So I'm just trying to make things fun, make things interesting, think outside the box, and then play devil's advocate. Get get you guys thinking a little bit, but it's all rooted in fact. It's rooted in meta-analysis, deep evaluation, sports below the surface, the Lando Show. So I just got to thinking, right? And here's the proposal. Cowboys Steelers trade hypothetical just for fun. Pittsburgh receives pick 12 and select the future face of their franchise, whether you want it to be Jackson Dart, Shedeur Sanders, whoever you think is their guy. They need a quarterback for the future. All right. So they come up 9 picks, take their quarterback, build towards the future, and capitalize on moving George Pickens potentially before he walks for what would amount to a 2027 third-round comp pick, and all likelihood the contract that he would sign agency. But they could circumvent that and get a return on their investment from George Pickens. Remember, second-round draft pick, entering the final year of his contract. This is the last year for him. So they have to decide either they're going to pay him big money or he's going to walk for next to nothing. And we won't see anything on that until the comp pick for the 2027 draft. That's still 2 years away. For the Cowboys, obviously, this need makes sense because they're not just one player away. They still, in my opinion, and it's most people agree with this, and this is what we've been talking about for months. You've still got a hole at one tech. You've still got a gaping hole at wide receiver 2. You still need a corner, and a lot of people still feel like, I think they could play football with Javonte Williams and Miles Sanders, but they definitely need some explosive playmaking, game-breaking ability at that position too, without question. So that's 4 without even mentioning, you guys know where I'm at on O-line. Yeah, you got 14 dudes. But to be content with that room, to be complacent, to be satisfied, to not be looking to improve, to turn over every corner or every stone and look in every corner, like Brian Schottenheimer says, with this revamped physical culture that they're talking about here, that it will reveal itself in due time. Okay, I don't know that they'll select an offensive lineman in round 1. But if they trade back to 21, that becomes a lot more palatable. Right, so this is a 2 birds with 1 stone move, much like the Cortland Sutton thing was. The Cowboys received pick number 21 and George Pickens. 2 birds, 1 stone. Why? Well, because also on top of offensive line, making that more palatable at 21 for some people who are just deathly afraid of swinging and missing again. Like, you want a day 1 impact player. The skill positions usually translate a little bit quicker. True. But what's also true is in round 1, no position is more successful of a first-round hit than offensive line. In fact, the 3 most successful positions that we've touched on in the past as well, number 1, offensive tackle, number 2, offensive guard, number 3, offensive center. No position in round 1 from 2000 to 2019 is more successful in terms of first-round draft picks that sign a second contract with the team that selected them. Really good hit rate. And this team, the Cowboys, they can't say for certain that they know they have in Tyler Guyton. He's an unfinished product. We don't know if he's going to improve yet. We think that he can. I certainly do. But you can't bank on it. Same thing at right guard. Yeah, you have an entire charcuterie board of competition over there. TJ Bass, Brock Hoffman, Sadiq Charles now, after they traded to acquire, or they signed his services. Robert Jones, brought him in for free agency. These are 2 starter caliber players, yes. Cowboys clearly have a type, 6'4", 320 plus for all these guys. And not just the free agents that they brought in up front, but the guys that they're bringing in for 30 visits in the draft. Armand Membu, Kelvin Banks, Jonah Savainea. Those are all 6'4s plus and 320 plus. Physical, okay? They have a type. But the point is, Amarian Hampton at pick 21, who a lot of people like for the Cowboys at 12, not people necessarily as in the fan base, but people as in, let's refresh this camera here real quick too, guys. I apologize for that. People as in the experts. The experts who have insight and honestly a resume, credibility with recent hits, being accurate with their predictions in the past, like Mel Kiper Jr., right? But to me, I I think there's definitely interest there. He's a 30 visitor, so no question about that. But if Ashton Genty's on the board at 12, the Cowboys are just eerily quiet on that front. Okay, that's a just shake hands and tell the league thank you. We select Ashton Genty. We'll move on. But 21 for Amarian Hampton, who a little bit less dynamic, a little bit less generational. All of a sudden you're in that range of okay, yeah, this is a little bit easier with the positional value. It's not in the elite tier, like the top 12 to 15 range, but 21, that makes sense. Difference making player, a guy who reminds a lot of people of DeMarco Murray or Joe Mixon. Impact day one guy for you. Plug and play. Physical in nature. Absolutely embodies that with a little bit of home run ability on top of it. Okay. There's a violence to his game that I am a huge fan of, and I would be thrilled. You get an instant impact, red zone machine, a matchup nightmare on the outside, can win off of can beat press man and play line up anywhere and win. George Pickens. Is there anybody in the draft right now at receiver that brings more game breaking ability than he does? No, not yet. You would take George Pickens to now. Again, locker room aside, right? I understand there are very significant question marks, which is part of the reason for the Steelers parting ways with him, anyways. But let me say this, and please hear me when I do so. Wouldn't you think a guy like that would be a little bit less outspoken, frustrated, a little less diva if he's finally got some stability in the quarterback room with the guy that's throwing him the football? You can make that case. You could also very much and very easily make the case that this is not a guy that fits Brian Schottenheimer's new culture, who's founded upon relationships and brotherhood and beyond the gridiron things, bonding. So if you don't like George Pickens, then replace him with Cortland Sutton or whoever you want. I'm just having fun with the exercise here, but I'm giving you real possibilities of fits for both franchises that make sense. Okay. Now, once again, please hear me when I say that acquiring George Pickens is obviously, like I said, he's entering the final year of his contract, is an admittance of your willingness to extend him, to enter into negotiation talks to sign him to a contract extension. You're not just going to waste, you're not going to give up the 12th overall slot and take a 9 slots lesser of a talent for just a 1-year rental on George Pickens. That doesn't make sense. You're going to extend him. If you trade for him, you're going to extend him and keep him around. Okay. The Cowboys have done this in the past, right? With recently, very recently, with 2 of the last 4 years, they have traded back. And Stephen Jones did allude to that, obviously. But remember, just last year, I mean, they went from 24 to 29. Say what you want about Tyler Guyton, but trading back got them Cooper Beebe. I think it was, 83rd overall? Trading back from 10 to 12, and they still got Micah Parsons back in 2021. You could make a trade along the same guidelines with somebody else, get back into the early to mid 20s, different position, right, and still get a guy like Emeka Ibuka or Luther Burden in the mid 20s. You trade for a defensive tackle and then go get one of those other guys. All 4 of them are draft day visitors, right? So the Cowboys have all the information they need on each and every single one of these top 4 receivers. Nobody seems to value draft capital, or I guess depend and rely upon it as a means of team building more than the Cowboys do. So that's, to me, why this hypothetical, it's a 2-for-1 swap. You're getting game-breaking, difference-making talent times 2 instead of just times 1. You could get behind Omarion Hampton at 12 very easily, especially when you see him, the pin and pull, the more power running style, or I'm sorry, running philosophy, the offensive scheme that I think is going to be very, very fun to watch. Very, very different from what we've been used to around here. And you would forget all about where they selected him when you see that guy marching for 150 yards every other week. Like, I'm talking NFL Rookie of the Year caliber impact for Omarion Hampton. I think he's that good. But if you could get him 9 picks later and add a guy who brings probably more than what Tetaroa, McMillan, Matthew Golden, Emeka Ibuka, and Luther Burden can bring you as well. So you're instantly better at receiver. It's best case scenario at receiver than any other guy in the draft. And you're still getting the guy that you would have otherwise been okay with at pick 12. Once again, do the same thing with the Broncos at pick 20 with Cortland Sutton. I've already done this exercise too, with the help of AOC, who was the first one that I saw to make it public. But let's touch on why this makes perfect sense, why it fits. I went really below the surface with the details here, okay? Because that's what we do. By the way, make sure you're hitting that subscribe button if you're not already. Making the push to 5,000, 75,000 strong across all platforms. And Lando Show, Sports Below the Surface community. So thank you guys so much. I can't do what I do without y'all. So y'all make it worth it. But just make sure that you're doing your part. I know it's easy to forget. I'm guilty of it too. I do it all the time. But the likes and the subscriptions are free. The freest and best way to help us out. But I promise you it's worth every penny if you do so. So Pittsburgh, they've already traded their second round pick. So this is where it gets a little bit interesting for them. Okay. The Broncos and the Seahawks in a similar range, they have more draft capital because they have more twos to play with. So maybe the Broncos are a better trade back fit in this scenario anyway. But once again, outside the box. Okay. So just walk with me. DK Metcalf. The Steelers basically traded their second round pick for DK. It was like, I think it was a second round pick, a day 3 pick swap, like a 6 and a 7, right? And then obviously they had to pay him. But just for the sake of the argument, for simplicity's sake here, DK Metcalf equals pick number 52 overall that the Seahawks now own. Okay, that pick, 52 overall, is worth 380 points. The Cowboys, pick 12, is worth 1,200 points. The Steelers pick 21 is worth 800. So the Steelers need 400 points to get from pick 21 to pick 12. If we assume that George Pickens' trade value or compensation is similar to that of DK Metcalf, because they're similar caliber players, similar caliber market for those two talents, right? Let's just do that and assume so, because I've done that in the past as well. I've already assumed. Maybe, with the character, I don't know if teams would get or would pay less to acquire George Pickens, but he's 4 years younger than DK, so that has to matter some too. Let's just assume that it's similar, if not equal, compensation as far as their market. Okay. In which case, George Pickens would also equal pick 52 or 380 points. So Pittsburgh's pick, 21 overall, is 800 points. And we're assuming that George Pickens is by himself is worth somewhere around 380, because that's what the Steelers paid for DK Metcalf, a second round pick, 52 overall. 52 overall is equal to 380 points, according to Jimmy Johnson's, the guy who made famous. He's not the actual inventor of it. The trade value chart. So that gets you to about 20 points, 800 plus Pickens is 380 as far as value is concerned. They're still a little bit short. So maybe the Cowboys also get thrown in an extra, I don't know, day 3 pick or a fourth round draft pick or a later day 3 pick into that mix as well. Who knows? Maybe they use that character concerns thing as an incentive to get the Steelers to overpay, especially when you consider, right, if you know that they're coming up for their quarterback, which is what they would be doing in this move. You got to get a little bit aggressive. You got to overpay for that position because it's that valuable, right? So play the chess game. Make them overpay. But the Cowboys kill 2 birds with 1 stone in this situation, and maybe 3. If they get an extra day 3 pick on top of that, who knows? That could turn into another Dak Prescott, right? Not necessarily selecting a quarterback this year is what I'm saying. Obviously, they've already basically drafted Joe Milton with a 5th rounder. But what I'm saying is you never know. It's an extra dart to throw. Any position, any player, you never know if they might hit and how they might pan out for you. So that's pretty much it, guys. It's more complicated than this, obviously. I've dumbed it down to the best that I can. Yes, like I said at the end, the Cowboys should make Pittsburgh overpay since they're coming to get their franchise quarterback, but just having fun, trying to break up the draft fatigue, the draft day monotony as we get closer and closer here. Stephen Jones is telling you bold-faced that they're not done yet, right? They have operated a little bit differently than they have in recent past as far as their approach to team building this offseason. So at the very least, it's a fun concept, but at the very most, in this particular situation here, the Cowboys get 2 game-breaking and difference-making skill positions with 1 clean swipe, 1 smooth swipe. All right. Hope you enjoyed this one. Stay tuned for more. We'll either be live tonight or tomorrow night around 7:30 p.m. So check in with me on that front as well. Thank you to our sponsor. Almost forgot, the official partner of the Lando Show, Waggle Golf. You can see the logo right here. Every piece of clothing, hat, shirt, usually shorts and or pants for the last 18 months or so, and hopefully the next 10, 20 years to come will be courtesy of Waggle. Get your Waggle on.com. Use code HOSL10. I will put that as make a banner for that real quick so you guys can see it. I'm telling you, their stuff is different, y'all. So let me create this banner so you know exactly how it's spelled, because Hosel is not spelled traditionally with our name. Hosel and Hack, by the way, is the golf business that I co-founded alongside 3 of my very best former Division I and professional baseball buddies. And we are the most relatable golf on the internet. So you can find us everywhere too. But Hazelton is the discount code. Might as well just put the website. GetYourWagalon.com, code Hazel10. Boom, right there. Bottom of your screen. Go ahead and take a little picture of that, quick screenshot of it. And let me know if you get you some merch. And I'll do the best that I can to maybe put together a pool, like almost like a raffle style. I'll be doing giveaways once we get to that 5,000 mark. I'll have a giveaway for you. Put together a little bit of a bundle, but I think we'll start doing that. If you purchase something using our code, you'll get entered into a raffle pool, and then every milestone, I'll pull a name, and I'll have either $100 or $150 gift card for you to take home. So appreciate you guys for doing that, supporting a great cause. Thank you once again over to the people at Waggle. They've been fantastic to work with. And with that, I'm Lando. This has been the Lando Show. Remember that prayer changes things and the war is already won. Talk to y'all soon.